Good afternoon, this is Jeff Bull, I'm Chair of the Landing Commission, and we are starting our April 25th meeting. It is 4:30. Before we get started, I just need to note that we're going to move pretty quickly through the agenda because I have to go to a birthday party afterward, and I would ask all of you in the audience and at the table to stand and sing him a happy birthday. Ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Richie. Happy birthday to you, and many more.
Thank you. Uncalled for.
Nah, we called for it. Thank you all. Quickly, first thing is landing use applications for yoga. Could you come forward, please?
Yes. Where should I?
Oh, I'm sorry. There's no chair.
Oh, I moved it away.
Or you can stand. They say it's healthier.
Yeah, no worries. Oh, this one over here. Okay.
Sure.
Have my application. There you go.
Great.
And the proposal, shoot, I only have 2 copies, but.
It's okay, we can share.
Okay. And that has the proposal, my insurance, my yoga certification, and also the, what do you call it? The form that you fill. It's so funny that word's leaving me right now, but the form you fill out,
This application?
yes, that one, yes.
Yes.
That application, liability waiver, there's the word, at the end of the packet there.
Oh, great. Here's the application. Sorry, we don't have multiple copies for you, but here's your liability waiver. And you have the same level of insurance as you had last year?
Yes, and I actually had my insurance company put the town of Westport on there too, so
Great.
completely covered.
And then this is something you just ask your participants to sign off so that they won't sue you or me
Exactly.
or us. Great. Is there anything particularly new about how you expect to do it this year?
Nope. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay.
It's been doing well. We take care of making sure that there is plenty of space for the emergency vehicles to go by if that were ever to need to happen.
So you manage the parking
We manage
along
the
the road.
parking. We clean up afterwards, which there's never, I mean, I don't think I've had to pick up any trash ever, which is really amazing. And last year I even picked up goose poop before class started.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sorry. Control
Oh no,
that.
what are you gonna do? They just,
Yeah.
I drove by one day and there must have been 50 of them. I'm like, wow, that looks so cool.
Yeah,
And
not
then
so
my
cool.
next thought was, oh
Slide.
man.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, you have my personal permission to scare the geese.
to scare the geese?
Yeah, like
Okay.
do some like heavy breathing or something.
Yes, okay.
I haven't heard anything from the neighborhood about complaints. Has anyone else heard anything from the neighborhood about complaints?
No? And I know the people closest to it, so.
Okay, so that all seems pretty good. What I will say is that the town budget is extraordinarily stressed this year, and I have
Okay.
heard from the highway department that they may not be as regular about mowing.
Okay,
So people typically have mats, so it may not make too much. It's certainly no problem. The lawn's fine with, putting mats down. I just don't know how consistent the mowing will be and whether that'll create a problem. They will mow some, or we may try to hire someone to do that.
okay,
It'll depend a lot on budgets, and the whole town is stressed because the town doesn't have enough money to pay people, and they're having a hard time hiring at current payment rates. So you'll have to be in touch with me about that. When it becomes problematic, I will tell them that, because it's better for you if the lawn's been mowed. Like if it's mowed on Friday, it's relatively low for the weekend, and then there's not a lot of loose grass for you people to be mucking around in by Wednesday, right?
right.
So that's probably best for you. I don't know, I can't guarantee any of that at this
Okay.
point. But
Okay.
just be aware of that. The other thing I wanted to raise was, we do have a porta-john there. Would it be useful for you to have a key?
Yeah, that would be great.
And conceivably, if it's locked, you can unlock it and take the lock with you to class, and then we'll lock it when you leave.
That would be wonderful.
That would be good for us because we occasionally hear that people really have to go and go in places that are not so good, so it sort of,
Oh,
it gives you,
okay.
okay, so we will work on getting you a key. And that should be, when do you start up again?
I'm looking at June 14th. It's,
August 30th, it says.
yeah, it's August 30th. Usually the week before Labor Day, August 30th.
Okay.
Yes.
So we will be starting the porta-john before that, and you can be in touch and
Okay,
figure out
that's
getting you a key.
Fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I wrote on the back, so this past year, I donated to the Landing Commission, and then also I donated to the Westport Land Conservation Trust. Is it helpful if I donate everything to the Landing Commission? Is that,
These days, given that we may end up having to pay someone to mow the lawn at some point,
okay,
we'd like all the money.
great, okay. Okay, I'll do that.
You don't have to, but
Yeah, okay,
Oh, that's very nice.
we
Heard.
can, we can use it, believe me,
okay,
and we will use it.
Good.
Fantastic.
Motion to approve
Second.
All in favor of the motion to approve
Wednesday night yoga.
Yes.
Wednesday night yoga?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
All right.
thank
That
you.
was easy. Thank you.
Get so excited every year. Thank you so much. And also, I just want to, I always think of Lucy this time of year, and I was thinking over when I pulled up today, and I just wanted to
Yep.
just mention her.
Yeah,
Lucy
we still
Tapp,
miss
that's
her,
right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Thanks for
you.
bringing
Oh, that's
that up.
yours,
If
okay.
any of your members or anyone out there in TV land that's watching this are just interested in maintaining parks and landings in Westport, if they ever ask you about that,
Okay,
please let them know that they might want to come to a meeting and consider next year running for election.
okay.
I will help them get signatures because we're always looking for new people, partially because some of us older people, and you missed the happy birthday part.
I heard it. I was downstairs.
It's on
I heard
YouTube,
it.
are thinking about not being on the landing commission anymore. And it would be good to have some young blood,
Okay.
or at least middle-aged blood.
Middle age. I can make an announcement at the river, at
Yeah,
the class,
particularly if they're
absolutely.
people that are kayakers or fishermen, men and
Or
women.
yogers. Or yoga-ers.
Yeah, all those
Yoga-ers,
things. All those
absolutely.
things. Yeah, all those things. I mean, just somebody that cares
Yeah.
and wants to be involved, and how much
Yoga
fun we
during the
have.
meeting. We do yoga during the meeting.
Yeah, okay. All right, we have to move along.
Thank you.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
coming in.
Thank you.
I know that, just to announce quickly, that Warwood's still planning an event, and that is a developing issue. They're thinking about things about with food that sounded like different than what they had talked about before, so that'll definitely involve some discussion.
I think
But they're not here.
I think the displayers that are building the machine plan on cooking there some traditional foods.
Right. There was an issue, one with the Board of Health about that, or there will be, but also then how will the food be will they be cooking it on the landing in the parking lot? And then move it around to be, like, what's the details about this? So that was just some of my concern. So we will hear from them next month, maybe. Similarly, Dharma launch is in the process, so they will put a boat, I'm sure they will be here next month. Next,
That's going to be May 20th or 21st for a rain date.
so we
The
have,
launch of the skiff that the high school students are building right now.
yeah, what's the date now?
20th and 21st of May.
of
It's in the
May.
minutes.
So that's potentially before our next meeting. Huh.
It is.
Because we gave them provisional approval. Well, we may have to, when we set a meeting.
It was approval pending completion of the form.
Oh, so as long as we get a completed form, we're probably good to go. And they're pretty organized and stuff, and
That's
there's,
been my
you're,
experience as
and
well.
you're involved with them, and I am also. Okay. You're up. Why don't you introduce yourself and
My name is Michael Mosier. I am part of Troop 100 of Boy Scouts, and I am very close to finishing my scouting career. And the last thing I have left to do is complete a community service project known as the Eagle Scout Project. I have been in contact with Mr. Bowl, and I was supposed to be here last month at last meeting, and I completely spaced about it. And I wanted to apologize again for doing that, and but I do want to show you I got drawings made up and plans to build a railing at the head landing in Westport, right by the country store and that kayak store over there. I have prints with dimensions and 3D scale models of what I am looking to build there. So basically, at first, I know you mentioned that you wanted to make that lower front railing removable, and at first I had an idea, why don't I just through bolt it and do that? But then I came across in research, if you see that last page, there is a removable joint, like a T joint there. That would make it easy to remove that bottom railing for just about anyone if needed to be done for the winter time, to avoid from any upward lifting of frozen water and anything like that. I looked up code. The railing must be at least 3 feet tall above the ground to be legal.
right?
So I have it about 3.5 feet. It's a little bit taller. I drew this drawings before I actually did any research, and luckily they're right. So I was thinking about at first just building it myself with pipe and stuff, and then I realized how much prices really are, and how much easier it would probably be if I went and got like a railing kit, which basically has all those joints, those elbows and those T's with removable or non-removable joints, and I could basically very easily build the railing that way. I still have to look up pricing and stuff like that, and do have to do fundraising. Another thing, a major problem that my next thing I'm trying to figure out is what to do about cementing it in place. So I'm trying to find something that will solidify or cure well underwater and saltwater, because if you ever go there where at dead low tide, the far left support is going to be underwater, and at high tide all the supports are going to be underwater. So
Right.
it takes 24 hours for cement to cure, and at that rate they're all going to be underwater at some point with salt water. So I do have to figure out something to do about that, and also what type of material, whether it be galvanized steel or stainless or aluminum, to actually build the railing out of. So I still do have some planning to do, but I just wanted to make sure we're still go for the project, and if I still have the Land Commission support. And yeah.
Got a couple quick questions so that I understand. On this drawing, is this the river end?
On the left side of the paper is the river end, and then the right side is.
It gets deeper as you go down the slope.
Okay. So it's easier to look at the drawing, because the drawing you can see the ground level there, and you can see it slope
Okay,
down.
so this is sort of the stone wall. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
And I think, as I have sort of thought further about it, we had thought that this, I don't know if this railing can extend in terms of your fixtures beyond the upright.
at a,
In other words, if this one can extend beyond the upright, if it did, you could be a little bit more out of the water where you're dealing with it. And it certainly occurred to me, I mean, there's things called coffer dams, which hold back the tide,
Yeah.
which are gonna cost about $150,000 when we try to fix Hicks Bridge. And we built one there when all that work was done. It seems conceivable, and I expect in your family and your resources, you might even just be able to pour these things as uprights in 5-gallon plastic buckets
Yeah.
and sink
it's-
those.
It's a possibility.
In other words, and then just set those in.
Right.
I don't know, but I would think that,
I would have to do some research and contact some engineers that I know. And
yeah. We have spoken, I did on your behalf speak with an engineering company that does boat ramps and things, and we are
Okay.
contracting with them to rebuild Hicks Bridge. They knew nothing about this. So, but I'm sure that there will be people or railing companies or somebody must know. The other thing I would like to do at some point is schedule a meeting with you and a member, I think probably Martin Costa will come, and put him, the railing is likely to be about the same dimensions as the railings that go up the ramp at the watershed building. Those are sort of standard. And what I want to do is pull out a plastic kayak, have him sit in it, because he's a little bit handicapped and old like me, and see if he can pull himself up out of the kayak and stabilize himself. And that'll help a little bit with how high do we want that mid one, because that's probably a little
right.
adjustable, I would guess, in your kit.
Oh yeah, definitely. I could build this however way you
Right.
want me to. This is just a
Right.
rough idea. I
Yeah.
just threw some numbers on a
Right, so at
page.
some point, we'll
just to
try
get
to
started.
schedule a meeting with you at your convenience and his, and we'll meet there, and I'll see how much it helps me drag myself off the ground, because it's not easy for old people to get off the ground. Basically, when you're sitting in a kayak, you're sitting on the ground.
Right.
And because we're doing, you started this process with the Disability Commission, so I want to bring them into this. All right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
People have any other questions?
not right now. Good, thank you.
I do have plenty of rigid plastic sleeving that we will be able to put on the lower uprights in the winter and then just pop them off. So that I'm thinking, because we had talked about this possibly being removable and putting in sleeves on the uprights because of the concern about ice lifting it out.
Yes. One
And
I.
we
sorry.
don't, that just seems so complicated, keeping rocks out of the sleeve and putting it all back together again. And we're not having ice these days. My
Oh.
sense is to risk it and just put a plastic sleeve around the upright so the ice will grab the sleeve and go up and down, similar to the sleeves that are on all the foundation under Hicks Bridge. People have any experience with that? Do you understand what I'm talking about?
They wrap the ones on Hicks Bridge.
Right, with plastic basically, so,
Yeah, but that just kind of protects the cement.
right.
And on the 88 bridge, they ran some kind of grout. They cased it with like plastic, and under pressure, they pushed in some
Build it.
grout around the I
Yeah.
beams.
Kind of what I'm thinking is,
That stuff will cure in the water, a lot of that stuff will.
Yeah,
Okay.
there is stuff, whether, how expensive it is another
Yeah.
question.
well, it might be that if you can dig a hole for a 5-gallon bucket and you pour it, pre-pour it, and then, put that down 3 feet and then there's rocks on top, that might get it stable.
If they pour boat ramps, they just pour cement and they get 2 or 3 tides.
Yeah, like 88, they built a big cofferdam around that when they redid that though, so the tide was not as much of an issue.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Talk to an engineer about the 5-gallon bucket.
Yeah.
I think that might be a little on the shallow side for,
No, but I mean,
Adequate, you know,
but then
for
if you,
people
but if you
pulling
sink
on it.
that down 3 feet,
oh yeah, if that's down 3 feet, but that's gonna be a pretty big hole at the top. And so you'll have to be
and then
careful to be able to reset those
blocks that,
slimy pavers
right.
that are there.
Yeah.
What about driving some sort of like I think of like the rebar in my garden, I drive down and I put the pole over it to hold whatever I'm holding
Mhm.
up. Is there something like that you could drive in instead of digging?
You know, like
More like a
tent
pile
pegging or
situation.
something?
Kinda like how they
Kinda
drive
like-
pylons in?
Instead of having to dig into the water and throw cement in there, you could drive
Yeah.
something deep enough that then the hole could go over it,
Mhm.
and it would,
I am sure someone's dealt with this.
I have a
Uh,
company he needs to talk to that builds
yeah,
docks. I
and-
know exactly a customer you can
And
ask.
Kendall
Yep,
might be a good resource. Now, he might be back in town.
He is.
Good,
Awesome,
all right,
awesome. Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much for your time.
Keep up the good work.
stay in touch.
Yeah.
Great.
Good luck.
Thank you.
yep, that's exactly what you have to do.
Thank you for
Thank you.
participating in the happy birthday thing, too. That should go on your Eagle Scout resume.
Oh, I don't think you're supposed to torture the people.
Point Landing parking design. I have had 2 more meetings at the site with some neighbors and with the Hayneses. There is reluctance to do more paving on the east side of the landing. Do people have drawings?
Here you go.
Do you have
No.
a color, you want a color one?
Is this from last week?
Yeah, this is sort of the same as what we were talking about before. Basically, one of the things that was pointed out, if you see the little house above my words, existing paving, assuming
Yes.
that's that one, that little building,
Yep.
it was pointed out by Bobby Haynes, who's trying to be cooperative with the planning commission, that that they're gonna make a more concerted effort to use parking on their property this year. They're gonna move the anchor to completely to someplace else.
Oh,
And
so they want to drive straight into that?
so they will be, well, and on their property, they can drive straight in between that little building and the landing. No problem, one car can do that. Depending on whether or not we extend the paving or put in a fence, they could put 2 cars in there, abreast, they say.
Between the end of
But-
the car and the side of the building?
So in other words, they can put 1 car here,
Yeah.
and a second car here, based
Yeah.
on where it is right now, which is this red dotted line.
Yeah.
So, and then similarly, they could back it up and put in more cars.
As long as the first cars don't want to move.
Yeah, in other words, they get everybody's keys. It's like valet parking or something, and people just park each other in.
As long
And
as they can park on landing property.
that's of concern to me. And I don't
That's
know.
not what that's not what their Board of Appeals decision was.
Right. So there is, I'm concerned about officially making that possible, even though the town administrator would like to not do any paving further than where it's paved currently. And it may be that our measurements and where I drew this little red dotted line is not completely accurate. Mr. Haynes and Ms. Figueredo do agree that it makes sense to extend the paving a little bit north and take out those grasses. And then because there is concern about runoff into her cellar, then what they would do is dig a trench and fill it with gravel just that runs along that border of the parking, so that would collect some of the water, and that may actually connect to the storm drain that's at the corner of her property. So that will make her
Corner of
flooding.
the street.
Pardon me?
Corner of her property at the street, it's where the
It's
sidewalk.
on the street. yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's gonna be improved. So, this work needs to be done soon. I obviously couldn't just say, okay, let's let Mr. Haynes do that. I don't know how we can assure that if we don't extend the parking at the moment further east, if we wanna do that at some point in the future, are we setting any kind of precedent that
We
is of
could
concern
rent
to me?
the property maybe. I wonder if we can legally.
Well, we rent other property.
They used to rent to a restaurant there years ago called Laura's.
Laura's, yeah.
So if there were a rental agreement, that would, and it doesn't have to be
Because
for a lot
right
of
now,
money.
those people are parking in the
The point
landing.
they were making is if we don't use that for parking, they're gonna park outside and fill up the parking outside. So, but, you know, all of this is effectively taking parking away from the general public and giving it to a select group of people, which is kind of a problem. Even though it sort of helps with the problem for the select group of people, it's not like someone from the town, anyone from the town can go and slip in and park, valet park there.
Right. Unless they have a valet slip.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't know what to do. I definitely don't want to do anything kind of permanent.
Well, but you said if they can't park, if we don't let them do that, then they're gonna park in our parking area. But their Board of Appeals decision required that they had parking for the people that use their dock.
For at least some of them, or 14 of them, yes, or 12, or whatever it is.
So do they have 14 parking spaces without using our land? That was the idea.
They provided, when they went for the DEP license, they provided on paper.
It's on
Oh.
paper, I've never.
12.
I've
Oh,
had-
but the
12 or
paper was
14.
partially on landing.
Well, no.
No, I don't think it
so.
was, but I
so.
think that,
So
it-
they should
I
be able
don't-
to do it.
I don't, but who is going, the difficulty in any small town situation is who is going to enforce that? Who's going to be able to tell that Stan is actually one of their
Oh,
customers?
yeah, we're gonna have those city boots and things for cars that stay overnight.
Well, no, but how do we,
I don't
they're not
think
even
so.
necessarily overnight, it could be
They're
just a Saturday afternoon. How are we gonna know that somebody who's using a town spot is actually one of his customers? There's no way, I mean, we don't have the staff to supervise us, the police are not
Technically,
gonna
there's no
supervise
overnight
us.
parking on town landings, right?
Yeah,
Technically, except that at this particular landing, for
right. It happens for the fishermen.
decades, apparently.
Commercial boats, yeah.
Commercial boats.
I was gonna
do
say,
that.
you might,
I
if
would,
push comes to shove down the road, you might wanna think about some kind of a portable decal that the commercial boats can use, that you'll know that it's,
Mhm.
Yeah, well, and
you know, like a dump, like a
Yeah.
beach sticker.
Yeah.
yeah, or like a Hicks Pass, yeah.
potentially, I mean, it's an ongoing
Green,
issue, and the
pink,
decision that I think that we need to be thinking about is there are a lot of possible uses for that that parking lot, that allow certain kinds of activities. It, to some extent, supports, do we want this to continue to be a place that supports commercial fishing? Or do we want this to be a destination for people to go for a walk? Or to what extent do we want it to be a parking lot for people who have slips nearby, or putting kayaks in the water next to the harbor master's scary boat ramp? Or to what extent is the parking lot for a local business or two local businesses who are supposed to be providing more parking on their own property, but we don't have, because it doesn't seem like going forward, it can be all of those things. I think realistically, and then what happens is people just start parking all the way up the street, and I don't know if at some point in the future, you know, other businesses that tried to be in the food business there failed. I don't know how these folks are doing. And
Hey,
so
Sam,
I
I'm
think
in a
it's
meeting.
just certainly something to be thinking
I'm
about.
in a meeting.
And to what extent
No, I'm all set.
are we charged with helping to make that decision?
I think, one of my thoughts is the town got the permit to expand those docks. And the thinking that that was gonna allow more fishing boats in town because we wanted to support that. But evidently, they didn't think about parking, or if they did, they just forgot to tell the landing commission that they did. Or maybe they didn't, maybe they did remember to tell the landing commission, and we just haven't looked back at the minutes.
Wait, this for.
For
in
when they
which
expanded
century?
the docks.
The mud dock or,
The West Dock,
Yeah, when they expanded that dock, they had to think about, well, people are gonna go on these boats and they're probably not gonna ride their bicycle with their bait on the back.
they get parking spots as
Yeah,
part
Jeff,
of renting dock
if I
space.
can interrupt you.
Yeah,
One thing that I noticed that's happened over the last 30 or 40 years down there is the boats themselves have changed. There were a lot bigger boats, offshore boats. An offshore boat goes for 3 days, 2, 3, 4 days. Well, those crew, their car's gonna be left behind for 3 or 4 days. The day boats that you have now, a lot of them, they can park right next to their boat at the dock. So it's the offshore boats that are more likely to park in the town landing.
And when they built that new dock, it was to support those boats,
Yeah,
right?
there was a lot of money spent there, yeah.
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 But my understanding is that when you get space, when you rent space at the wharf, because it's really like a wharf, right?
Well, there's 2
Town,
docks.
town wharf. When you rent space there, you get a couple of parking spaces. You know, your boat is
Yeah, they
25 feet long, a car is 13 feet long. You get at least 2 parking spots next to your boat. But what we have heard from the Marine Services Director is that people don't like leaving their trucks out on the wharf because when the wind blows, they get salt on their trucks. So the fishermen want to use the parking lot so that their trucks don't come back salted. So similar to some of the businesses down there, we've got people parking where they prefer, not where they're sort of expected to.
Yeah.
And difficulty,
Well, they
Well-
also store lobster pots too on the dock, and
Yeah,
it's a combination, you know, when they
Right.
bring down trailers
Yep.
with a load of lobster pots, they load them on the boat, they have to park the trailer somewhere.
right? Yeah, no, and I want to be able to support that. I
Yeah.
just think that,
And that, and the real parking issues, let's face it, are June, July, and August.
mhm,
For the most part, you get down there in the wintertime, you're lucky if you see 2 or 3 cars.
mhm. Yeah, so it's going to be dramatically improved. I think that given they have to do this work soon, because that's just got like a primer coat of asphalt.
It needs a
Unless-
sealant on it.
Unless they seal it, it'll start breaking up.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do is
Suggest they do it.
get a decision about what we're gonna do, because we also may not sort of have the money, or not us, but the town may not have the money to extend,
Beyond what's there now.
except for going north with this drainage trench thing.
And that wouldn't be much wider than a sidewalk.
Right.
The tar,
And so
the
it
trench.
will extend it a little bit, and then it'll get striped, we can see what it looks like, and then see how it goes this summer, and just make sure that there's an understanding that, because we don't really know how effective the neighbor to the east is going to be at getting his customers to park each other in. He says he's gonna do this, but it's not easy to manage that. You know, basically be doing valet parking.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
you gotta be around, and
Right.
people are not gonna be happy
Yeah.
if they have to wait for, oh, somebody forgot to bring their keys.
Right.
Somebody lost them overboard.
yeah. This here, 5 feet between property line and the wall of the,
That's a skinny
Building.
car.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's a skinny car.
yeah,
Yeah.
And that's from the survey, that 5 feet, right?
yeah, apparently.
I don't think a golf cart would fit in that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's, I'm thinking there's not the room there. I kind of, if the paving isn't extended and they're thinking they can squeeze in a couple of cars, they're definitely gonna be parking on the landing that go back to, like you said,
Right, because,
rest in the space.
yeah, because they're parking each other in, it's a more efficient way of using a landing. And the other problem is that as this gets moved this way and this gets moved this way, it doesn't actually create that many more parking spaces because
Right.
of the way
Right.
it is.
No,
And,
I agree.
I mean, it
It's-
does help some, but
I don't like spending money on blacktop anyway. It's like not my favorite thing by any means.
Right.
It absorbs heat and holds it.
so
It get warm.
I guess possibly what I'd like to do, because I don't want to be making this decision on my own, is Wendy's been down there for many of the meetings, and you live in the neighborhood. If we can have if we can somehow, I don't know if legally the four of us can vote to charge the two or three of us to make a final decision that's going to work for this summer and see how it goes, basically, because they need to do this work before our next meeting.
Can I, can we just vote here or approve here tonight, have a quorum, I guess,
Yep.
to seal what they've done? That gets the blacktop people out of there. It finishes it.
Right.
And
If we
then-
want,
Then if you want to put curb stops or whatever, you can put them in just dirt ahead of the tar or whatever, wherever you decide to do it. But at least get the tar out.
and that would not increase any impervious material, any
Right.
impervious area for Brenda, thinking
Right,
that,
and then
that
it
would not
buys
make
you a
things
little,
worse for her.
it buys you a
Well,
little
the
time.
trench will make things better for her.
The trench will be more or less where the grass is now, right?
It'll actually be, a little bit north of the grass, or from kind of where the, because
Yeah,
those grasses are 4 feet in diameter. Because she and the Hayneses agree that 20 feet is too much, because then people think they
double
can
park.
just
Yeah,
go in and park and they go for a bike ride, and you can't really get by. So what part of the goal there is to shrink that a little bit and bring these cars that are parked north-south a little closer to the Paquachuk, and which potentially frees up a space. And it also helps with the turning radius for a fire truck. So, because that's some of the concern.
so yeah, so if we could just agree to seal the tar that's there now,
And
get
maybe,
that out of it, gets the stink out. I'm just thinking about summer's coming here pretty quick, and
Very quick.
and maybe
very
go,
quick.
and maybe go a little bit north with the tar.
But to pave, they have to prepare the underlayment. You can't just pave over loam, or you
No,
can,
no,
but,
Well, I
the
think-
binder,
you
it's
gotta-
a binder, it's,
Yeah.
they bind,
My
well, they've
underst-
got to, before the binder, they even have to have compacted gravel. They
Right.
can't just put it on
Right.
top of what's left under the grass.
And that's why it's really a problem to go east. Apparently,
Right.
it's not as big a
Yeah.
problem to go north.
right.
Right, like you'd be burying that little house, part of that little house, if you, down by the little house that we're
Right.
talking about.
Yeah.
Um,
So can
So
I
I
have a
think Richie
motion?
has a good idea. Just leave that dirt, because it's only the front wheels or back wheels, whichever way they get,
It's light.
they
it's not
go
that
in there and, yeah.
On
and you'll-
these guys?
Yeah,
On the north ones,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, they're
So
gonna,
they don't have to expand the paving at all, but they'll have a
At
little
this-
bit
at
more
this
space, because part of the car, it can be in the dirt, and we'll have to put curb stops or something
Mm-hmm.
to show them that they can go that far forward.
and then once the paving is done, we can make a decision about,
Where to put
The rest
those
of it, yeah, you-
exact
do we
buy
want to
curb
do
stops.
curb stops here? Do we want to put a rail fence in?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
It
whatever?
buys you
Yes,
some
you-
time.
Yeah, you mentioned striping, so it sounds like somebody's got it in their head they're gonna stripe it.
Oh, they're gonna stripe it. Yeah, they have, this is not worth doing unless we stripe it, because,
Well, I thought we were talking
Candy
about curb
stripe?
stops
yeah,
delineating.
everybody wants to stripe it, so I'm like, okay, stripe
Okay.
it.
Okay. Blue like 195.
All right. So again, what I'm hearing from him and Highway is it's not a big deal to extend the asphalt a little bit north
Yeah.
and then put a trench in, because they have to dig it out to trench and put
Did he
heavy
give you their
gravel in.
timeline?
Huh?
Did he give you their work schedule timeline when they could do it, or
Soon,
how? Yeah, so they wanna
they want to do it.
move it.
Okay, so can I have a motion to extend the asphalt, what, a foot north and then a trench north of that?
If that's what the highway department.
So moved.
Is there a second?
You want a discussion?
If,
And that's to be
if
a
the
second
contractor
first, and then
says it's gonna
discussion.
hold up, but if they don't prepare the base, it's not gonna hold up and it'll just be a
And I will,
probably mess.
I will ask him about that.
Yeah, otherwise, I like Richie's idea that we pave right to the edge of the existing and put some curb stops in a foot or two, whatever amount is necessary prior to the trench, and people can park that way. It'll be striped, but they'll be shorter looking spaces, but when you see
Right.
where the curb stop is.
And I could
the
ask
car
them
would
to
fit.
stripe it shorter. In other words, instead of making the stripes 15 feet,
Yeah.
make them 13 feet, so people kind of get the
whatever.
idea. You're supposed to go all the way to the curb
Yeah.
stop.
The back line here would be where the stripes would stop.
Right.
They'd just be short going to the north, that's
Right.
all.
Yeah.
Extend them later.
I second that.
Okay. Any
Discussion?
further discussion?
No, I'm good. You guys good?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Unanimous. Thank you.
I know Brian wanted to, he was thinking about shrubbery or decorating or curbing or something, but when he finds out about the trench,
As you heard, number 4 here is about mowing. I heard from the highway department that they're low on money and they can't guarantee mowing. I've spoken with the town administrator about, can we hire someone to mow? And he's encouraged us, if the highway department is not able to do that, that potentially we go through them, because they may have an existing vendor or something to help with the mowing, should they not be able to do the mowing. And I haven't heard anything further about that.
And if somebody in the neighborhood started to mow it, that would be illegal?
You mean like at the head?
Yeah.
but if we gave the
It's
older
not-
people a push mower and see, get it incorporated.
Warm up.
Yeah, incorporate it into their program.
That does happen to go on at Adamsville, and a previous group of landing commissioners tried to get the fellow who mows Adamsville to stop, and he stopped for a while and Poison Ivy took over, and then he started up again,
Caught poison ivy.
and nobody sort of has said anything, so there's somebody else who's actually taking care of the other one. He does also park his dinghy there, which he's not supposed to do, and he's been told not to, but again, town has trouble with enforcement, so we've let that one slide. So, yeah, I don't know, but that's I mean, the head is pretty big to mow the whole thing. I cannot.
No, I was even wondering if that would be a problem if someone did that.
I personally, because people are having trouble scheduling the mowing of the area just south of the kayak shop because it's so wet, and I went there one day with my brand new mower, push mower, and mowed it just to see, is it possible, when my feet got a little wet, but it was sort of possible, and they were appreciative, and
You know, it's also not good for the town's equipment to be running it around in that salty water either, you know?
Yeah.
You
is what it
wouldn't
is.
catch me doing that at high tide or mid tide or.
Any
Right.
goat lovers up there? Any goat
Yeah,
lovers?
yeah, the porters, but they got rid of all the goats now. They're all gone. Yeah, we could have just herded them down the road a little bit there.
Maybe they take care of that goose problem. So that's where we are on that. Hicksbridge Landing update. I have met with as you know, almost the entire exit road from Hicksbridge Landing is on land owned by the Masons. I have been through the town's records and talked to people, and we can find so far no clear evidence of a written agreement, even though I'm pretty sure there was some sort of agreement years ago, because when the work was done, my understanding was that when it was a gravel pit, the gravel pit extended relatively close to where the Mason's Lodge is, and that part of the reconstruction of that whole area and the building of the road was an enormous amount of fill was brought in by the town and other people, because I've heard of other people who, old timers, say, oh yeah, I dumped a lot of stuff there. So the town helped extend their western lawn when
Because
they
they'd
kind
taken
of.
the gravel out of it.
Hmm?
Because they had taken the gravel out of it.
I don't know, they bought it in 65, I don't know, and
The Masons bought that in 65?
and I've heard that they
Wow.
bought it from the town, so I don't know even how the town came into ownership of it. I don't know.
Hmm.
65,
So, and
that
I-
building's been there more than 65 years.
What?
Masonic Hall.
No, but their hall technically was not on
On-
that particular lot. There's two lots there.
Subdivided.
Oh, okay.
There's two lots. So I don't have the time. I did try to look up their deed to see if there was some easement in their deed, but it's not available online because it's
Mm.
from way back.
Yeah, they only go back to 70.
And I haven't been able to go to New Bedford and figure out how to do
How
that.
much money do we have? It might be worth having a paralegal do a search, because they're there all the time, and they just add that to their list.
Yes. Start doing, just check on the assessors records and see the
Mhm.
title cards on that. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then it's no big deal to get the deeds out of the registry.
Yeah, you get the lot number.
Okay, so all you folks know way more about that than I do. I've just been fumbling around online.
Yeah.
So,
So the town keeps cards.
yeah, I've seen
Do they
those
still?
cards.
Yeah.
Really?
We have to keep title on properties. Because we gotta know
Uh-huh.
who we tax.
Um,
So on that card, I've seen these little boxes of cards, I know that much. Sharon Potter takes me by the hand. And so,
I can pull the title cards and try to see what the deed references are. I find it interesting that you said the town owned it, whether it was a tax taking
Yeah, that's
possession
actually
or
tax
something.
taking or something.
You know, it could have been a tax possession or something at one point. I have to look that up. I do have some documents that I'm gonna have to record
okay,
soon at the registry. I mean, to go over and pull half a dozen deeds isn't a big deal.
oh, that'd be great.
yeah, I think we,
It's
we,
kind
well,
of fun,
we're not
actually.
gonna
If
go
you need
anywhere,
help from
right?
me, maybe we'll go together and I'll buy you lunch.
But we're not
All right.
gonna go anywhere until we know
Well, what's
more
happening
information.
now
What did
is
you meet with them, and did they?
I met with them, that was really interesting, having dinner with them. And they, in general, were very supportive of the idea. But then the next day, they apparently had spoken with their attorney and an engineer, and they put a chain across the exit for 36 hours. So we don't know exactly what's going on.
Oh.
So
They had,
what-
they had a recommendation.
So
Okay.
what I have done, so I spoke with Mr. Hartnett about it. We are having the engineering company draw up the limits of the easement that's gonna be required to use that, and then just ballpark, if we can't use that, about how much is it gonna cost and where else would we build an exit? And then probably, once we have those limits, then we can have the town attorney draw up an easement and give it to the Masons and say, what do you think?
So they're interested in entering into an easement.
They were very supportive of it when I met with them.
Good.
It seemed like a good idea, and I still think at some point there was an agreement, because when all that work was done,
I was trying
you
to-
can see from aerial photographs,
Did you
the lawn
ever,
got
did you ever
bigger.
narrow in when you think it was done?
2001, and we are trying to talk to Paul Pereira to find out what he knows. I did speak with Len Potter and about 20 other people. Len's like, oh yeah, we dump a lot of stuff there too. I mean, I think a lot of people, I think it was just like open dumping time to rebuild that lawn. But yeah, so it's about 2001 it got built by the highway department. And they have no records.
You got the town report.
I was just gonna say, the 2001 town
I've got
report.
the, I've got the 6 here. Jack Sisson was the, it's when they showed Hicks Bridge being done, so.
Okay.
Jack Sisson was the surveyor back in '06.
So anyhow, that's where we are. We'll get drawings of the easement soon.
And what year did you say?
2001?
2001, really?
Yeah. I was surprised. I lived
Yeah, I'll
through
give you
that.
this one back.
Yeah, so did we, and I can't remember it not being where it is.
I know.
Oh, you used to go in and out the same way,
I
which
don't
is
know.
really dangerous.
Yeah.
Um,
He's
Right.
2002, 2001.
interesting.
Moving right along, picnic bench, apparently the town safety officer never brought the idea to the select board. So, and I got a phone call into him, so we're still a little bit on hold about allowing parking along Hicksbridge Road. Mr. Hartnett's concerned that the town already doesn't have money to maintain the properties it has. So I was like, we're already maintaining this, we're mowing it. If we just buy a picnic bench, what's the big deal? And you might even sell more permits. It also wasn't known, can you just, boom, put a permit required on a state road? But we do it on the road at the Noble, so, and a lot of towns have resident parking, so it doesn't seem to be an impossible thing to do
So it would have to be permit parking,
there.
but then it would be a different permit than Hicks
No,
Bridge.
not just use Hicksbridge. We've got that in place, and that's what I would do. So number 6 on hold. Number 7, Horseneck Landing. I will continue to remind the highway department that it would be nice to fix the storm damage there. They were waiting until winter was over, because there's a lot of gravel there, and so that needs to be regraded.
Yeah, now it's not, they took away that broken down guardrail, and now it's not clear where you should turn around.
I don't know if they're even gonna rebuild a turnaround. I have no idea. My guess is there's no current plan to do that, but I don't know.
Okay.
But that's not, I think that's not even on landing property, the turnaround.
Oh.
So that'll
On
be up
road
to them.
property? It's in
Yeah.
the roadway,
I
right
think
away?
so.
Hi, Chuck. This is the landing meeting, right?
Yes,
Is there a harbor meeting somewhere?
Yeah,
Yes.
Howard Pines.
If they're finished,
If we could finish talking,
I'm sorry, too many people talking at one time.
if we finish soon and we are racing, then I think they're landing, moving here, but you'll find them chatting down the hallway.
Okay, thanks.
So that's what I know about that. Adamsville Landing, I occasionally drive by there. If anyone else does occasionally, if you could just go look and see if there's anything, just so we have a little bit of monitoring going on, would be good.
You don't generally get down that way, but
Nor do I, but
it might be worth a ride.
and we may want to think about,
If I start playing golf, I'll go take a look. What do you?
yeah, just drive in and kind of go, what's going on? And Emma Trip Landing. There is some people in my neighborhood who want to put in a little bit more of a dock, and DEP is saying, if you put in a little more of a dock, you first have to do something for the general public that encourages public use. So they have provisionally offered to donate some money for signage at Emma Trip if we wanted to have better signage. We had talked about that, but it also occurred to me that if someone could just clean up that stone, that might be enough. Because I think we were unclear whether we really wanted to be making it look like an official landing that people would start using more so than they do.
and there's some sort of a dock there,
No, I have neighbors
who would like a dock, some
who,
sort of a
who are
dock.
going to, who want to add a few more floats to their existing dock. They have a neighborhood dock. And in order to do that, they have to,
You're not
do-
talking about Emma Trip, you're just talking about a
right, they have
different
to do
situation.
something for the general public. So he came to me and
okay.
said, what can we do for you that won't
Oh,
cost too
okay.
much? So it occurred to me to maybe either have them fix the stone so people can see that it's a public landing, or we can think about a sign there. We started to go down the sign route generally, but then we started to think, ooh, do we really
Yeah.
want to be inviting the general public to come to Westport when we can't even manage the existing numbers of people that come?
Talk about no enforcement, but the neighbors enforce there. We do
Right.
have the neighbors
Yeah.
faithfully enforce it,
Yeah.
even more
So
than
I would
they
go for
should.
cleaning the stone and maybe repainting the Emma Trip part myself.
Is that painted? Is that
Yeah.
how that, and it is
Or
faded
it's
out.
engraved
It is
or
faded
something.
out, you have to-
Yeah.
yeah.
But if you could
And
think
it
of,
also is only shows from one side.
right, so we could put a sign. What do you think about a small sign at Emma Trip? And we could always take it
They-
down. If
they-
it
That points the other direction.
Yeah, we could also, well, we could get one that's two-sided, just like the one that's at the head.
Oh, we already have the rock in
And
the
I
other
would think
direction.
smaller than the one that's at the head. Myself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
And give it, and we can take
Yeah.
it, we can, if suddenly the hordes come and it's a problem, we can take it
yeah.
down.
Yeah, but I think a little more sign, something more than the rock, because the rock, like you say, you see it from one direction
Right.
mostly and so forth.
Okay, I think the existing sign is 2436, so we might go to 1824 or something. Sort of, probably no bigger than one of those plastic campaign signs,
Yeah,
but something real.
The same, similar, I like that layout of the head.
Those
The
good,
same colors,
good
same.
colors and
print,
maybe
same
even
fonts
use,
and,
and maybe the town seal again, that was sort of cute. And it'll be
Yeah.
consistent,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
very
That's what we had
similar-
talked about it
similar as possible.
originally.
right?
Yeah.
And we might want to think about the same thing at Adamsville.
yeah. A
Yes,
sign down there would be
yes.
good.
Yeah, there is a sign there now, but it's
Yeah,
really
it's funky.
ugly.
All right, I will try to get some quotes on signs. Annual lease renewals.
So maybe we could get them to do both signs,
Mhm.
or one or two,
Yep.
or whatever.
Were you able to get some estimate on how much more they're getting hit with? What I was able to find out is in places where people buy investment condos, the price of the condominium is adjusted by about 40% down when it's on leased land compared to owned land. And then people have to pay the rental, so it definitely impacts on the value of the property, and I don't know, I mean, I would think we can certainly go up 3% or something, because we have in the past. But how much more justification we've come up with to hike it more than that, or less than that.
I can't think of anything that I've bought in the last year that hasn't gone up more than 3%.
Right, but this other
I-
real estate tax people are being hit with now.
Right, but the law
Do you know
is,
where the Harbor Advisory Committee meeting is?
It might be here, or they might already be meeting at the end of the hall.
Thank you.
the law is that if, the reason it's taxed is because it's town land. But it's used for, in the case of the head, a business conducted for profit, or leased or occupied for other than public purposes, which is the
It's a house.
In a house, yeah.
Right. And it's taxed because it's for the privilege of such use and lease and occupancy. So that's the,
Is the tax rate the same as it would be for a house
sh-
on owned land?
should be, and that's what they're saying, it should be taxed. Now, my understanding is that they actually have a little break for Atterbury built into it, or for the house, but the other one, it's so small that it's hard to put too much of a break on it because it's such a small parcel around the building.
So if people aren't I don't even think what they own is around the building. I'm pretty-
No, what they're doing is taxing them for the leased area.
Right, so, and
They
this
get a
is,
separate tax bill for what they own, that little 200 square foot.
they own something about the
Parcel.
size of this table.
Right. Literally.
I call
you're
it
right.
insignificant.
And then they get a tax bill for that, but then they get a tax bill for what's leased.
Okay, so if they owned that property, if they owned our property, they would pay taxes on that
Waterfront
property to the town. And they would potentially have to make a mortgage payment. And I know when I sort of added all that up 5 years ago when we were trying to come to what would be fair for the town, for the watershed building, and then I cut it in half, people said, oh, that's way too much. And I was sort of shouted out of the room. So I don't know, you know, they're paying more than they used to. They're paying taxes, they would be paying the taxes anyhow.
So their taxes would be similar to the taxes for another waterfront house on a small piece of land.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, I don't think they actually are.
They're getting a
Yeah, I
break on
think,
that.
I'd really like to know what those numbers are so that it can't be unfair, but it can't be a gift either.
So it sounds like we're not ready to make a decision. We've got a little more research. We need to pull these numbers together. Okay. Next time,
It's an,
Yeah,
yeah, that
Well,
was
do
such
you have
an
a
interesting
suggestion?
thing. Although, yeah, don't we have to give them some notice too?
that's my concern. So we're supposed to be giving them 30 days notice, and particularly if it's gonna be a big tax and big increase. So we may need to kick this to next year.
Or,
done.
I mean, I think we should, last year, didn't we go up like 4%?
Mhm.
I mean, we should do at least 4% anyway.
I don't remember the exact dates of the leases and what puts us at 30 days.
I
Should we?
thought it was 90 days. Does anybody else remember?
I think the state law is 30, even if our lease says 90, but we can,
Oh, I don't
the
think
sooner
that
better.
makes sense.
Maybe we should try to approve an increase of 4% again this year. I think typically we were getting 2% a year, but we skipped a year there, if you look at your spreadsheet.
Mhm.
Yep,
And so we jumped at 4, but 4 seems worth, given that how much everything else has gone up.
right.
And then have this larger discussion, because we're not going into a 5-year lease with them still, because her settlement with her husband is not over.
Right.
What do you think?
And I think we should work on it
For
in
next time.
Right away.
September.
Yeah.
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 Start
August-
looking at it in
August,
September, so
Yeah.
that January 1, especially if they're looking at a 5-year lease on that.
Yep,
Yeah,
and that'll be a
definitely.
whole other thing that we have to figure out.
Right.
So
So
I
I would
would entertain a
I would go
motion.
along with the 4%.
Make a motion that you do as you just said.
4%?
4% increase.
Yes. Okay, I will compute that. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of 4% increase on the 2 properties, the Atterbury property and the
Mercer
Kayak
Kayak.
shop.
Which will be renegotiated into a 5-year at some point.
on the Atterbury one.
Okay.
That's not part of the motion.
Okay, so, aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. And I will draw up those leases and potentially track you down individually, get you to sign them if they need to go in sooner rather than later. Okay, again, if any of you are in TV land or tuning in late, we're always looking for people that are interested in being involved with the Landing Commission. So come to some meetings. We have a lot of fun, as you can tell, and you might want to win an election. Minutes for approval. Do people have any?
About the February and March, because I don't think we approved February's. And I know we didn't approve March's, because I just gave them to you.
Do people have any particular issues about any of the minutes?
No?
Hearing none, all in favor of those 2 months' worth of minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Wait, someone's got to make the motion. I'm sorry.
Motion to accept the minutes of February and March.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Something that came in before I made or after I made the agenda, we have the annual bill from Campbell Environmental. It's gone up, I don't know, 4 or 5% this year. He's great. He does an enormously good job. He has to come to the property. It would be crazy not to approve this bill. the
Make a
bill.
motion to approve it.
He is for $23.75. It's not a bill, it's an estimate. But he has to come sampling. But I will say that this used to cost us $7,000 a year. But he encouraged us to go to a different kind of sampling and file paperwork, for which we paid him a chunk of money a few years ago. So it's way cheaper over the decades now than it used to be. Did I hear a motion to approve the bill? I think you said that.
Yeah.
Yes, he did, I
Second?
heard him. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of approving the Campbell Environmental Bill for her estimate for $23.75?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Next meeting date. Mhm. So there is the 23rd of May. Oh, and I'm away the following week.
I am too.
So how about the 23rd of May? Does that work for people?
Good as any for me.
All right.
What'd you pick, Jeff?
23rd of May. 4:30, does that still work for people?
Yep, for me.
Yep.
And it's great to get a reminder email.
Yeah, a couple days ahead.
You still
Just
getting
saying.
Lucy reminders?
I sent one out.
Somehow I got
you
my
did, you
Lucy
sent one out, and
reminder
I'm like,
stuff.
oh, okay, that's right, that's this week.
And motion to adjourn? Are we ready
Second.
for that?
All in favor?
Aye.